How's it going? You want to make your mixes super wide? Check this out. I'm going to show you a session right now in which I've created one of my favorite things to create, which is called the wide bus. In the wide bus, I have a few things on it, but first I'm going to play it for you so you could hear what's going on. Basically, I'll send things here like mid-range and top end. This is a song called Comfortable by Matty Charm. I produced and mixed it. Check it out. All right? Music coming, so watch your ears. Here we go.
Baby, I wanna lay you down. Yeah. Let your soul speak to
It's
me.
off.
Talk to me.
It's on.
Talk to me.
It's off.
What we waiting on. Talk to
I'll give you another example on a different place in the song. Here we go. It's off.
We can get comfortable. Whoa.
It's on.
We can get comfortable.
It's off. It's on. All right, what's happening here is I basically have things sent to this that are not the kick. It's not the bass. It's nothing that needs to occupy the center. It's not the lead vocal. It's just the stuff I want to pan out wide. And the reason I want to pan it is because like backup vocals I may want to pan. I may want to pan violins, the keyboards, even sometimes some percussive elements like hi-hats, like the rolling hi-hats or sound effects. Anything that I want to get outside and to wrap me in the music so I feel like I'm part of it when I'm listening. That's what I put on the outsides. Now, again, contrast is everything. If you spread everything wide, nothing's wide. So the things I have being sent here are just the stuff I mentioned, and it's generally only mid-range and top-end style things. The reason being, I'm parallel compressing, or parallel processing, rather, my bass on its own parallel channels. Not here. I'm parallel processing the drums on its own parallel channels. Not here. I'm also sending these individual instruments to their own buses. Like the violin has a violin bus, and that's just for the violins. Like the keyboards is a keyboard bus. That's just the keyboards. That is generally stuff that's occupying, some sound space. It could be just the left or just the right, or maybe it's both, but it's just the left-right spread. Whereas this stuff is like an auxiliary bus, another bus that I call wide bus. This allows me to do many things. What it allows me to do is put it in some parts of the song, let's say, and not others. Or you could run everything to it at all times that I just mentioned. Those few instruments that you want to spread wide, run it to it at all times, and then those things will always be wide. It depends what it is. In other words, in the song, if it's already only there sometimes and it comes out other times, then you don't need to keep it, let's say, tight and then wide. But if somebody played like a violin line through a whole song, then you may want to experiment with sometimes it's, a little tighter and then sometimes it gets wider. That change of what's happening is going to keep the listener's attention. So that's why I do stuff like that. But let's show you what's on this bus. We got on the wide bus, I'm rolling off 88 hertz and below because we don't need it. It's going to get in the way of other things. You'll also sometimes see me pull something down here because every time you put any sort of high pass filter in, there's going to be a hump. There's going to be a hump no matter if you're doing it on an SSL or you're doing it, no matter where you're doing it. The Neve, it doesn't matter. As soon as you add that high pass filter, there's going to be a hump around where you set the filter. Then there's just no EQ really happening. Little mastering style moves. Half a dB down roughly at 2.8K. Less than a quarter of a dB up at 1.8. Quarter of a dB up at 5.2, quarter of a dB up at 8.8, and this is just for this song. Don't write down what this is. I just wanted a little more whatever out of the width, out of the wide bus. You get it? This is just the wide bus. So the way you route to it is you just use it as any auxiliary send. I set up, it's called Master 4. Anything getting sent to Master 4 goes here. And like I told you, this is an auxiliary. It's an addition to whatever buses I've already created for those instruments. That allows me to use it as an effect to get more happening when I want and take it out when I don't want. Now, what I got was after the Pro Q3 is the good old S1 imager. Now you gotta love the stereo imager. This is, and keep in mind, I have it in mid-side mode, all right? And I have the width maxed out and the gain lowered, because whenever you start making stuff super wide, especially if you're sending a lot of level into it, you're gonna start clipping stuff. So you don't wanna notice that, so you lower the gain a bit, all right? And that's all that's going on here. Then this is the last thing I have on it. The Volf Compressor, which I'm a huge fan of. And I'll tell you why. One, I love Wolfpack. Two, Joe Dart's the man. He's the bassist in Wolfpack. If you haven't listened to him, check them out. They're awesome. And then three, when I flipped through the presets on this plugin when I was trying it out, in addition to it being great on bass in a lot of different situations, when I hit the gentle stereo wow, I said to myself, wow. I said, wow. I don't know what's going on, but everything all of a sudden got wider, like a lot wider. Like it went from this to this. And I was like, okay, I have a use for this. I'm going to use it on either guitars or keyboards or violins or anything mid-range to high-end where I want to really spread it out. This stuck in my head. So I started using it in combination with this S1 imager, you know, right after it. And I loved it. It really was cool. And if you notice, the presets have a lot to do with what's happening here because, you know, like the wow is on 100 here, but here it's on 10%. You know, it's the mix of the wow is, you know, the phase rotation is 180 degrees. So it's doing things that you could probably achieve with other plugins, but the way it does it is really cool. So I just love this plugin for so many reasons, but that's one I'll use. If you don't have that, maybe you have the Brower Motion plugin. Now the Brower Motion plugin is another way to get extra width out of stuff, and I won't usually use it in combination with the Volf compressor. You know, you can do anything you want, but I don't usually do it. It's a one or the other thing for me. Sometimes the Brower Motion sounds better, sometimes the Volf sounds better. Depends on what I'm going for, you know, but sometimes just the S1 imager is all I need. You know, this Volf, when you add this thing, it's subtle, but it does something cool. So, you know, experiment with this stuff because there is no right answer. And if you come up with something else that you add to this sort of a, you know, stereo with bus, throw it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. You know, if you guys could drop a comment, it helps this channel out more than you know. Really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. And also, if you hit the like button, if you like the video, that'd be awesome. And hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. All right. Stuff like this is a trick I cannot live without on my mixes. So try it out, experiment, and tell me how you like it, all right? This is Evan Jaffe, Custom Cut Studios. You guys got this. Take it easy.